Welcome back into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, asking you to head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your browser, search us out, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment about the show. Also, too, reminding you, hit me up on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Well, Braves last night, after it looked like they'd maybe turn a corner offensively, they only score one run and go 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Yep, that's the life of a Braves fan right now. We welcome into the show my guy from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, covers the Braves and a wide variety of subjects as well. Gabe Burns is joining me, and you can follow him on his personal Twitter page at Gabe Burns AJC. Gabe, thanks so much for getting up with us and being part of the show. And if we look back to last night, it's sort of that same old, right? 13 hits, double-digit hits the night before, and you go back to 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, only put up one run.
Yep, that's kind of the 2022 Braves in a nutshell, right? That's kind of where this team is right now. One night it looks like, oh, maybe there's something happening here, and the next it goes back to the same things that people have been complaining about. So, a lot of people have kept, I was at the Falcons yesterday. All anyone could ask me is about the Braves. We're talking about the Braves, what's wrong, what's happening with this team. Is this team going to bounce back? And, like anyone else, I don't really have the answers. Your bullpen has generally been good. Kyle Wright has hit, which, no one counted on entering the year. And now but the offense, a lot of guys are performing below their standards, and you're just kind of waiting. You're just waiting this out. And, this isn't a year ago. You can't keep referencing slow starts of years past as a reason to be okay with this. This year is this year. And right now this team just hasn't got it together. And, despite the Mets injuries, with them holding strong right now, it's certainly a tough start.
Let me ask you, Gabe. If we're kind of diving into this, because I don't think that there's one easy answer to, like you said, the Braves are record-wise the same as they were at this time last year. I did look, though. The Dodgers are 4 games better. Now, that's a team that won 106 games last year. They're 4 games better. They're 30-14. Are we missing Freddie? Is there some intangible things that you can't just say on the field or point to batting average or something like that? But is there some intangible things that we're missing Freddie Freeman right now?
This is kind of a touchy topic for people because a lot of people like to dismiss some of this stuff to a degree or, believe that there's other guys who can step into the role. I said from the beginning I thought they would miss him from that aspect. And I know, when Acuna said what he said, and I understand why this is such a hot button topic. I do think that to at least some degree, they miss the intangible in with Freddie. Yes. Now, that's not what's making them strike out a ton. That's
right.
Not what's making them unable to hit with runners in scoring position. So there's a lot to it, and I think that there's a lot of elements that come into when you're a team that is as talented as this one is, and you are where you are right now. There's a lot of different elements that go to it. So it's not like I can blame this on Freddie. Obviously Olsen had a great start, and we know who he is. We know where his numbers are going to end up, or we think we know. So it's not it's nothing to say about Olsen. It's just I certainly think that there is. I guess this is kind of a safer, boring answer, but I do think that there's an element. When you lose a future Hall of Famer who is the face of your franchise and a leader, and expect to completely replace that easily, you just can't do that.
Do you think that you look at a guy like Adam Duvall and some of the struggles that he's had this year? I've brought up the idea of maybe it's not too early to make a move of whether you bring up Drew Waters, who I know is, he's just kind of getting back in the swing of things, or you find more of an everyday center fielder from the standpoint of not so much Heredia Garcia, but an actual guy to help Adam Duvall. And whether that's you give him a couple days off, you give him, a DH spot at times, it just feels like, I think part of his struggles are he's playing every day in center field. And I don't know at 33 years old that Adam Duvall is a 160 game type of player to be playing center field every day. Does it make sense to maybe think about a move to bring somebody in and maybe help him out in center?
Yeah. The dead ball doesn't seem to be helping him either. It's been really disappointing for Duvall. I think every option makes sense. Obviously the trade market is not, is not in full swing right now, but I certainly expect this team to be looking at outfielders. I've kind of said that for a while now, especially I was saying that really even before Rosario had the eye issue, that it just felt like they were going to need another productive outfielder. I know, we'll see who's out there. Pittsburgh with Brian Reynolds, I know that's a guy they were interested in the past, but to be honest, it still doesn't make sense to me why Pittsburgh would even move him, because you do have to try to build a good team at some point.
Yeah, he's young and cheap.
Yeah, so we throw out guys like that from these terrible teams, but at the same time, like when you have a guy that's controllable, the justification to extension. But so Drew Waters, I think it's a little too soon for that, but certainly that could be an option later in the year. I'm still thinking about Michael Harris. I know, he's so talented. Like it would not surprise me if he found his way up here at some point. But they're also going to be careful not to rush him as well. So. Yeah, I think you need to look at your options. There was a report that they checked in on Brett Gardner, the longtime Yankee, and then he turned them down. I guess he just wants to be, a Yankee for life, or he's done playing or whatever. Certainly they're leaving no stone unturned. But yeah, as far as Duvall, as far as this outfield, I think they need another guy.
So Ronald Acuna, he's been out last couple of nights. Looks like he's not going to play again tonight. You think there's going to be a lot of little lingering things moving forward with Ronnie? I know we want to say like, okay, once it's been a calendar year, then he's going to be healthy and everything's perfect, right? But he plays so all out on your team. And I've heard some people say reckless. I don't think it's reckless. I think when you're running into walls and diving all over the field, that starts to get into some recklessness. But, he didn't have any spring. He didn't play much in Gwinnett. I just wonder if these are going to be some things that are going to linger all year long with Ronnie, or are we just going to get to a point where it's like, okay, he's good to go now, and now everything's better for him?
I'm wondering the same thing. I think it's concerning. I certainly think it's concerning because, initially he has the groin, and they say he sat out on a Wednesday. They had Thursday off. They said expect him to be back Friday, if I'm remembering that correctly. But Acuna said that he would be back himself, and then they gave him a little more time. Then he ends up coming back. Okay, no IL. That's good. Now we're here again.
Right.
It feels like this is a problem. It's certainly concerning. I do wonder, should he have been put on the IL before and just get out ahead, just sit him for 10 days and just come back to it? I thought, but. Once again, they're not putting him on the IL again, and maybe he ends up being fine, but it just seems like there's a lot of, he's going to come back, and then it's slower than you think. Then he's out there, and as you laid out, he's an all-out kind of guy, and that's good. That's part of his identity as a player. You don't want to take that away from him. I understand that they have talked about dialing him back a little, talking to him about reeling it in, but at the same time, that is his identity as a player in a lot of ways. So. That's just what he's going to do. It's looking like it's just going to. Again, we're getting closer to June here. We're almost in June. He's back, and we're having these issues. It's all I can really say about it is it's concerning. I'm a little surprised that they just haven't put him on the IL at some point. We'll see, but the scenario that you said there about flip a switch and know he's okay now, okay, he's at this date, he's clear, he's ready to roll. That's kind of getting hard to envision, just given that there's just now multiple kind of lingering things here.
And I wonder if there is some reality to they're going to have to DH him a lot more this year than maybe what they anticipated. That, we go to that, okay, it's been a year, we're going to play him full time and all this and the other. But I'm wondering, look, he's too valuable to keep his bat out. And if that means he has to DH a lot more and not put strain on his legs in the outfield, isn't that kind of the reality of what they have to do? If I'd rather have Ozuna play left and him DH than for him to not be in the lineup at all.
Yeah, that's certainly on the table because at this point, you're not helping him by having him out there, and you do obviously want his bat in the lineup even when he's on the bases. He's going to run, and that's obviously kind of putting it at risk too. But that's just how he's going to play. So you are at least lessening somewhat the injury risk if you're not going to have him out there.
The starting rotation, it's looked a lot better. Morton got beat up a little bit the other night, but you mentioned Kyle Wright. He's probably been either their most consistent, or him and Freed have been their most consistent pitchers out there. I know the fifth starter is one of those things people like to talk about. You think Strider gets a shot there at some point? I do feel like his role right now is way more valuable, pitching every day, couple of days in the bullpen, especially without Jackson and Matzik. But I know people are enamored by the stuff in that arm about eventually him being a fifth starter. But where do you like his role right now?
Well, I mean, I think you nailed it. I totally get why people would like to see him start. I certainly could see a scenario, later in the year he gets that. But, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. I mean, and he's really it's easy to kind of forget, he was drafted in 2020. So, I mean, the fact he's up and he's making an impact like he is really impressive, especially when you consider the pandemic and the circumstances around, since he's been a professional. So, I mean, maybe, in the future that becomes, he is a starter. I don't know. Maybe later this year they give him a try, but he has been such a weapon for them. And the bullpen has generally been a strength. So, I don't think they're going to mess with it, at least not anytime soon. And I mean, look, they're struggling to find a fifth starter. Most teams are. There's not a lot of reliable starting pitching out there. Depending on Charlie Morton, you feel pretty good about your four guys you do have, and then fifth, you just kind of patch it together and figure it out. But as far as Strider goes, again, I totally get the conversation around it. Like anyone else, I'm curious to see how he would look as a starter too. But at the same time, he has been so good and so dominant in his role. I think they'll probably leave him alone for a while.
Last question, Gabe. Look, Dansby's figured some things out and turned something around. You and I have talked on my radio show about this. Are they just going to wait till the end of the year and just roll the dice and say, hey, maybe we'll put him an offer out there. Somebody makes a better offer. We'll let him go. I mean, this is an important position, and you got a guy that is playing elite defense this year, which is not easy to find, to go along with now he's figuring some things out offensively. I just wonder about this organization's long-term commitment to if they want Dansby. They don't talk about him much at all anymore.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it unfolds for him. I mean, they've done in-season extensions before, but it was on their terms. The Charlie Morton wanted to be back. Darno wanted to be back. It was their terms. For Dansby, I mean, he's he's turning it around. It's probably in his best interest as well to maybe hit the market, let his price drive, get a little better deal if it's from the Braves or if it's from somebody else. I think we all believe he wants to be here. But, I mean, anything in season would surprise me at this point because he is so close to free agency now. I think both sides might just prefer to let this play out.
Follow him on his Twitter page at Gabe Burns AJC. Covers the Braves, covers all things Atlanta sports, and join us here on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery. Thanks so much, Gabe. Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for being on the show with me today.
Absolutely.
We'll talk more about this Freddie and are the Braves missing him coming up. It is Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.